But I'm here today to ask for your help. The group of us that got together and are trying to get this hay distributed, there's just no way we can know everybody that needs hay. There's just no possible way. And so I've got a sign-up sheet up front here. If you were affected by the fire, if you haven't been contacted by one of those on the committee, we would ask of you to put your name on this list. Let us contact you. Find out your needs. Find out your general location. Whether you want to bring a large bale trailer and come pick up 8 bales at a time or load at a time. However you want to get that to your place would be great. If your need is great, we'll get some trucks headed your way if you can unload it. So again, we want to distribute this hay to the areas that it's needed, and we need your help in doing that. There's, I appreciate Jake and Byron sitting down with a county map and trying to cover the entire area and looking at who had land leased in the entire area and really doing their dead level best to get in touch with everyone that they thought might have been affected. But that being said, we're sure we missed some people, and I've gotten 1 or 2 calls from outlier types that asked for hay, and of course that was easy to fill. But if you know someone or you are someone that needs hay, please fill out my form up here at the front and let us get you some hay. Okay. I did set out some fact sheets. We have a fact sheet on what happens in recovery time after a wildfire. We have a fact sheet on fire's effect on native range if you're wanting to think about some of those types of grazing issues. So please pick up those fact sheets as you leave, and a few other fire-related topics. An unfortunate one that I had to set out was also proper disposal of dead livestock. If you had a number of cattle that happened to die, and you need to read the rules on how to dispose of those and not get in trouble, that is outlined in one of the fact sheets over there. So certainly if you have any questions, please call me. I'll be glad to get you in touch with the regulations and how to meet those. So again, obviously fence building is going to become important. I may try to, I happen to be in contact with some of the people in Woodward County when they had their flyer last year, and so we have a short list of some fence builders, but we'll add to that, and if you need that as a resource, obviously that's going to be a project over the next, months. I was affected by a wildfire last year, and it took me all year to get my fences back the way I wanted them. It's just a tremendous challenge. I know it seems ominous as far as what's ahead of you, but I just want to encourage you to hang in there, and you'll get through it as I did, and if we can help in any way, we want to be able to do that. Okay, that's kind of my overview. Are there any specific hay questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it. Now we're going to introduce Mike Kelsey with Oklahoma Cattlemens Association. This is awesome seeing a response from an outfit like this showing up. He was in on the early conference calls saying, "What can I do to help?" Trust me when I'm saying, if you're a member, your money's well spent. If you're not, you might want to get on board. Thanks, Mike.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. Again, I would echo kind of what has been said already. It's very good to be here, but not under these circumstances. But I think we're fortunate that we can gather and get some information and kind of figure out how we move forward. And we're, on behalf of the association, pleased and honored to be a part of that. So thank you, Administrator Peach and all your folks, and Jake, et cetera, and Greg. Greg has done a yeoman's job in a very difficult job of trying to disseminate resources. So that's right. What we had, kind of just to give you a clue as to what we've been doing, is one of the first things we did was, as Administrator Peach mentioned, Director Peach, give him a call to understand what we need to do from a policy standpoint to get some things rolling regarding disaster declarations and so forth. Then we put into action some of those types of things. As you're aware, the governor's declared a disaster. That opens up a few doors for us, and it wasn't until that declaration was made. So we thanked her office for getting that done, so that gives us an opportunity. But we also got a lot of calls regarding, we have hay, how do we donate that? So we sent those folks, but then, hey, I want to help, but all I can do is write a check. How do we do that? And so we were honored to set up the foundation to receive donations specifically marked to assist victims of the fire. And so we started to collect money, and we want to be able to target those resources appropriately. In our opinion, it looks like there may be kind of an immediate response, an intermediate, and then a long-term response that might need to be done. And as you learn what you're eligible for today and what you can apply for, there's some of those types of programs that can get you some immediate assistance, but still may leave some gaps, if you will. In other words, you may find out that, well, you can receive a partial assistance, but not whole assistance. What we envision is that the foundation's donations may be able to come in and help you once you understand how much you're eligible for under a certain program. Maybe we can help on the backside then and make you even a little more whole in that sense, if you will. So we're going to be coordinating very closely with folks here on the ground, with local offices, etc., to understand how we can target those funds specifically to you. So that, in that sense, we need that information, and we encourage you to stay in communication with them and then be in communication with us. Just to give you a sense of kind of what we're receiving so far, that I would tell you too, and echo kind of what Greg said, the response has been overwhelming. We've had folks that sent $20 checks in, and we set it up to where you could donate online or in the mail, and so we're getting obviously $20 checks, but we're also getting significantly higher checks as well. For instance, to give you a clue, the Shawnee tribe has designated $3,000. They're sending us that money to be targeted to help victims as well. The subsidiary they're working with in a project over in Guyman matched that dollar. So there's $6,000 right there that's coming in addition to the other monies and other contributions that we're seeing, and we're certainly appreciative of them for recognizing that and wanting to be a part of a community response and doing so. We've also been working with GoBob. If you're familiar with GoBob, they're a great partner with OCA, but they've indicated what they would like to do is offer vouchers that will give you significant discounts for their type of products. I'm sure those of you that have been affected have probably lost not only a fence, but you may have lost some facility type and equipment type processes, products that you need in order to feed hay and to move hay and those types of things. Panels, all those types of very, very important things. Well, GoBob has stepped up and said, we want to be a part of the relief effort. And in their mind, what they wanted to do was offer these vouchers. So we're going to work with them and work with local entities to understand who needs what, who may need catch facilities, catch pens, feeding type equipment and so forth, and get you those vouchers so again that you can use those appropriately. And then we're also working with Oklahoma Steel and Wire, and they're going to offer discounts on barbed wire, and that's a really good thing because then that will help you, no pun intended here, but stretch out your wire resources a little farther. Because I know many of you may have significant number of miles of fencing that will need to either be repaired and or replaced. And so we're very glad to be working with the folks down in Durant to help do that as well. They contacted us very early on and said we want to provide, but again, rather than just putting on loads of barbed wire and shipping it up here and trying to figure out, they said, why don't we wait and understand who needs what and how much they need, and then we can coordinate that specifically to you. So with you sharing information on what your needs are, that's going to help us in terms of some of those hard assets that we can get to you as well as those funding assets. So again, it's an honor to be here and work for you and work with you on this. I wish we couldn't be here, or wish we could be here on different circumstances, but I will tell you this. We've had an opportunity to see firsthand the coordination in Oklahoma, and I think we're really blessed to be in a position, in an environment where there's so much active cooperation and coordination. And I would tell you, we've seen and witnessed that that's not the case in other places. And so that's a compliment to all of us, that we can all work together to try to move through this tragedy as quickly and as as efficiently as possible in designating resources and services appropriately. So I'll be around as well. If I can answer any questions regarding any of that, I'd be happy to do so, and we look forward to working with you in the future on this endeavor. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
I'm always good at forgetting stuff. Warren Little, stand up. I had never seen, Vanna, please. Everybody. We've got the Anderson Creek Wildfire T-shirts. They're $20. They have all been donated. All the proceeds go to the firefighters and the fire.
All fire departments.
All the fire departments that responded.
Yep.
So who do we contact?
Who is that? Speedy Tees, T-shirts, Sherry Williams, Daisy Village, and you can get them in Kiowa also. So it's a $20 donation.
Wanted to make that announcement. I thought that was pretty nice.
Every penny goes to the fire department.
You bet. Thanks, Warren. That's a good neighbor to have. Next guy I'm going to introduce here is Rod Wonger. Rod is a very tenured employee for the Oklahoma State FSA office, one of my mentors, a good friend. Mr. Peach hit on it earlier that you're dealing with a bunch of guys from Northwest Oklahoma on this deal. Terry Peach is a Moreland, son Bodie Moreland. Jeff Alexander, our district director, hiding in the back, Ford Supply guy, working out of Woodward. Rod Wonger is from Fargo, and he actually, he was telling us today, from where that fire started, he was born just about 4 miles straight west of there. So to have a fire like this, you got a bunch of good guys on your side that are in your camp that are working with you, and trust me, it's a little closer to the heart, and it's showing in the response in this. Now Rod's going to go through the meat of this program, and it's called the Emergency Conservation Program for Wildfire. This is your fence replacement or restoration. So this is really the important part that you want to listen to. He's going to give you the nuts and bolts of it, what you need to be doing. But I can tell you right now, use documentation, documentation, documentation. If you can't prove it, we can't pay for it. If you didn't incur the loss, we can't pay for it. Cell phone pictures, get them to a printable format so that you can provide them to our county office at a later date so that we can work with that. This thing is so large in scope. I'm looking at the faces of the people that endured it. We went out there today and toured, went up the Ferry Blacktop, right up here to George and Sally Bush's house, drove by Ron's. I could go on and on. And it's devastating what we're seeing out there. We're here to help. We're going to do the best we can. These are government programs. With that being said, we're going to do our due diligence, I know Lisa will as well, to apply common sense to them, to get the money out the door as fast as we can. Do not expect an immediate response with these. The response is now in how you document, how you perform, and how we, as an office, as an entire collective state and county office work together. It will happen, but don't expect it tomorrow. Is it fair to say that, Rod? But we are in your camp, and I know guys like Rod and everybody, they want to be a part of this recovery process. That's what FSA does for you. When these things happen, we go to work. So, Rod, I'll hand it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Probably about all that. I can probably sit back down. That was great. I will get into some of the nuts and bolts of it. I just want to make sure before I go on, though, to explain a couple of handouts that I hope everyone got. We kind of had a little hiccup on getting those to you right at first. But the first thing is that we handed out this sheet that just says producer survey of loss. If you can put your name on there and some of the information on there of your losses, then hand them back to Lisa or back to this table down here and lay it on it. We'd really appreciate that for two reasons. First of all, Mr. Peach talked about trying to get emergency loans. We have to have what's called administrative loss for assistance on that to get the emergency loans engaged, and that's based upon structure and cattle losses. And so if we can gather some of that information, we would surely be able to take that and use that if we can engage that emergency loan process. And the second thing is that Lisa will keep these, and and hopefully see you trickle into the office and see what type of assistance that we can provide for you. So you have that handout. The next handout that I'll be talking from is entitled it looks like this. If anybody doesn't have one, just hold up your hand. I'll try to get Lisa or Jake to get one up to you. On the front of it says Woods County Henderson Creek Fire Emergency Conservation Program information sheet. And then the last one that we have is the Livestock Disaster Assistance Program sheet that looks like this. And Bodie Beach will be discussing that. So I'll try to just go through some of the things and give you some familiarity to some of our forms. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. You'll get that at the county office, but like Jake said, the best thing to do is document what you're doing, document some pictures and things like that. So we just won't have any questions for you whenever you come in and apply. So let's just get started here. So I think just a little update. This was from yesterday. The numbers were kind of up, and now they kind of come back down. You know the area, the impact. One time we were hearing 140,000 acres. This was flown, I think, by the Oklahoma Forestry Service, and so they're saying 88,000 acres impacted. Yesterday it said 98% contained in Woods County. Today I've heard that it was contained. So that's the information on this.
That's wrong.
All right.
It's still 98%.
Okay. All right. Now, on the Emergency Conservation Program, just what that is, we'll talk about it, and we like to use acronyms, so it's the ECP program to us. If you want to talk to the county office about ECP, it's available through our office like we talked about, Jake talked about, and to help assist producers on certain things through the FSA office if you were impacted by this fire. The next thing is that, the cost share. It is a cost share program, meaning that it's not a grant. We're not paying 100% of anything. It's just a grant. It's not a grant program. It's a cost share program, meaning you have to put up some money and the government puts up some money. In this case, it's a 75% cost share program, or if you can prove limited resource, which is below poverty level for Woods County, there's a site you can go to that the county office has to do that, fill out a form, and you can get 90%. We've got on the side here, this will make more sense to you, some of our rates, and I'll talk about that, and a little bit about fence rates as far as our cap. We say it's 75% of your actual cost, not to exceed an amount set by FSA. So that's what these rates are over here in this first chart up here at the top. A lot of you will be using your own equipment, things like that. You'll want to keep track of that and the hours used, and you'll want to, show an amount that of that cost. And the county committee and the state sets a maximum rate for that type of equipment that can be charged. And so the sign-up period is now, and it goes through March 28th. We're having a sign-up period last 60 days. Whenever we heard about the fire, the county committee and Jake and everyone in the office got this engaged, and we got everything going from our standpoint of it. And so now through May the 28th, if you can come in and apply, we'd appreciate that. So what assistance are we going to assist you with? So the fence, of course. So we're talking about fence assistance. So what can we do on that? Well, it's available for the repair or restoration of that fence, and when necessary, replacement due to this wildfire. As Jake mentioned, we was out looking around a lot today, and did a little example or sample of the damage out there. A lot of fences, a lot of wood post loss, and some things like that. I didn't really see any places where the fire at the tour that we took would require replacement of the total fence. So I guess you can, maybe that's why Jake's not up here today. You can take it out on me. I'm here to kind of level your expectations of the program. So we're not in the business of just because a fire went through your place to let you build a new fence. It'll be based upon the damage that you have, the pictures you bring us. We do have to do an on-site inspection. Due to the magnitude of this, we'll probably have to waive those on-site inspections because we don't have the staff to probably get out there and do timely review of that. So we'll probably be looking at waiving those on-site inspections. So your pictures become very important at that point in time in order for us to ascertain what type of assistance you need. So so again, due to the fact that fire moved pretty fast, went through there, a lot of wood posts were burned up, but, the metal posts are still staying, and just because maybe the paint burned off of them, that doesn't mean that they won't be there for another 20 years or something like that. Whenever we do build some fences, we do it according to NRCS's standards, and that would be mainly on a replacement type situation, and the county office would provide you that standard. The next thing, this kind of came up during the Woodward and Harper County fire, and just to kind of give you aspect, if you think of what type of livestock watering facilities that we could assist you on. So where could that be happening? I know a lot of people have gone from some of the steel rim tanks to the fiberglass tanks, permanent tanks. So if that fire went through and that burnt your tank down, if it went through, if you had a solar pump out there, solar panels out there, and it melted those, that's where we're talking about mainly. That's where I can see that assistance would be available through FSA, that we would assist you to replace that. Now, there could be some, maybe you had some energy-free fountain type facilities out there. Those are normally plastic and they may have melted. So that's what we're mainly kind of talking about whenever we're talking about your watering facilities. And again, NRCS will take a look at that, design the replacement, and you do it according to NRCS's specification and design. So evidence, we've already hit on that quite a bit, but we sure want to, again, hit on it again, that we need pictures or, proof of your damage in case we need to go back to that and just see what's happened out there. So please take the time to go look at that and take those pictures so you can show them to us. Again, the pictures are what we need. I think a producer brought in maybe a SD drive, and we're not able to put that on our computer and hold that. Even though it's a good storage device, we'd like some printed out pictures of the damage for your property. Beginning repair work. ECP works, in the idealistic world is that you come in and apply, you get approved, and you go do the work. But it doesn't idealistically work that way. So if you have some damage and because of cattle are getting out or whatever, and you need to go do the work, that's fine, but we want you to get in and get to the office and sign up for the program as soon as you can. And then I will say that on some of these things that hopefully that doesn't cause any ineligibility for the work that's already done. As long as you're putting the fence back in the same fence line and things, that's one thing. If there's some other things going on out there, which I'll talk about here in a minute, it might kind of lead to the possibility of not being eligible for the program. So again, take pictures and make immediate application to the county office. And what I was talking about is that we're the government, so we got to talk about environmental concerns. And so that's why we're talking about on some of the activities, and I've got a slide on it that if you're out there and you just want to just go push a hole and bury some fence or push a hole to put something in and you're going to receive fence cost share assistance, whenever we start disturbing the surface below the plow zone, that's whenever trouble kind of gets on hand for us as far as eligibility with the Endangered Species Act that we have to follow, things like that, and the National Historic Preservation Act. And of course, I think I heard in the paper not too long ago, I thought they found some type of a skeleton or something around here at Alpha somewhere, so I'm sure they're on the lookout for things happening around this area. So along with that, so what I'm discouraging activities would be to disturb the soil below the plow pan and digging a pit for some type of disposal or dozing trees in a tree line. Just maybe scraping the top is fine, but whenever we go to dozing trees, the tree roots are lower than plow level at plow pan, so that kind of gets us in trouble. So those activities, I will say, could cause ineligibility. If we happen to get a clearance from whenever we go, each application we have to send a letter, in most cases, to the State Historic Preservation Officer, and they come back and say, well, there's no, nothing in that area, then we'll be okay. But just caution you on that type of activity. Keep track. This is the biggest thing. Bodie mentioned it. Jake mentioned it. This is the biggest thing that you can do, is to keep track. You can keep track now, keep track after you make your application. We want you, if you're hiring help or doing things yourself, we want you to put down the days, the hours, the equipment used, the hours of the equipment used, the hired labor, their names, how much they worked, what they worked on, and just get you a spreadsheet. Go by some store and get you a spreadsheet if you don't have one, and just start making your entries on there day by day, hours of time to record all that information. Put what you're working on. If you're working on a fence, or if you're working on a water facility, because we're going to pay those under two different type of practices, as we call them. A fence is one practice, a water facility is another practice. So we want your time separated. So so it's just very crucial for you to document that information. And on that one sheet that I handed out, the ECP guidelines that I gave you, this PowerPoint is just from that sheet. But attached to that was a little bit more detail for you to look. It's talking about payments and keeping time and dates and everything. So there's a little bit more information on that attached sheet that's guidelines. So invoices. If we get invoices for eligible items purchased, if you're purchasing some type of the post or wire or something like that, we want the invoices. Also, if you have work from a contractor. Now, as opposed whenever I say to keep your time and things like that, that's if we're going to pay you or you're having a hired person to do it. But if you just hire ABC fence contractor to come in and repair that fence and then they bill you, that's good enough for us, okay, to make sure that they said, okay, we was there on so-and-so dates, here's your invoice for X amount of dollars for fence repair, and that will work on that. As long as we have some type of address or telephone number on that, that would be great. Barter. There is the availability for barter. If you're working, maybe you're working, helping replace somebody's fence in exchange for maybe a hay baler or something like that. I don't know. But the exchange must be commensurate with some type of a normal type of value. And also, you can do that barter agreement, but it has to be written and signed between both of you. It has to notate the value of what was bartered. And then we have to approve that at FSA in order for that to totally work. So some ineligible things. Whenever we get into this, some people want mileage or fuel charges on their tractor. Well, on our tractor rates and the rates that's charged for tractors, if you're using your own equipment, we're considering that in the rate for that piece of equipment. Mileage. Some people want mileage for running back and forth to the hardware store to get a fence or supply or something like that. We're not paying mileage back and forth anywhere. We're just paying for that, to get the thing constructed. Equipment purchases, we're not going to buy you a new skid steer or anything like that, or a chainsaw or anything like that. But on the other hand, if you have one of those, or if you did purchase one, again, you can charge FSA for the time that you use that in conjunction with that fence. Equipment repair, again, if your equipment breaks down, we aren't going to fix the flat tire or if the engine goes out or anything like that. That's all on the equipment rental price. And then we had one here, so I had to put this in here. It had working clothes, hats, gloves, and so forth. we had a disaster recently, and the person turned in a hat that his doctor prescribed to him, and we're not going to go there on that, okay? That's kind of your own personal deal, has nothing to do with the fencing or the water deal. All right, application processing is, again, just go to the county office and apply. It'll be reviewed, and when it's approved, we'll be giving you a time period to complete that. It's usually 6 months, and if you don't get it done within that period of time, we can do extensions if there's legitimate reasons. And so that's kind of how that works. If you don't get it done, again, by that, what we call expiration date, be sure to contact us and say, hey, I need another, 60 days or something like that. So that is that process. So, and the way this application processing works a little bit is that, and I might not have said it up there up front, but we don't pay you up front, or we don't pay you an advance payment or anything like that. If you do have a water structure and it's completed and your fence not completed, then we can do that, or vice versa. You completed the fence but not the water structure, we can pay you at that point in time for that. But that's the only way that we can do that. So this process also is that we've told Washington that we have probably $2 million worth of damage out here, or needed, or excuse me, $2 million worth of cost share needed. That's a lot different than the damage. And so whenever we get through with our sign-up, we'll add up our applications and we'll tell Washington how much we actually have. They'll give us the money at that time, and when we get that money, we'll start approving applications and telling you to get the work done by this expiration date. Once you get the work done, you turn in your receipts and your invoices and certify that it's complete, and then we'll make payment within 30 days after the completed application is submitted. So this is going to be a little ominous letter that you're going to get once we take an application. We're going to send you a letter or give it to you as you go out the door saying, hey, we don't have any money yet. And it's going to be kind of a bad-looking letter, but it's just one they make us do. Or we're just saying we don't have money right there to approve you right there at that point in time, okay? Like I said, we're probably going to be after our sign-up period before we dole out any money. Then after the cost share agreement is approved, we will send you a letter, and it will say here that please return this if you intend to continue with your cost share or want this application to continue within 15 days. So you have to sign this form here, and this is our form. It's called an FSA 848, and so you would sign that and send that back in. In this little square here on that application, which is a lot of blanks on here and a lot of information on here, but right here it'll talk about an expiration date, and you'll know whenever you get that in the mail that your expiration date is right there to write down. And you'll probably need to write it down because whenever you sign this form and send it back, that's the only place that expiration date is on. Whenever you get through with your practice, then we will have you to state that it's completed. You'll answer a question whether you did all the work and whether you got any receipts or received any money from any other type of federal source. And then you'll just sign it and show that it's completed and turn that in with your receipts, and we'll be good to pay. So I just wanted to show you, these are, like I said, these forms have a lot of space on them. I just wanted to show you what some of these things will be looking. If you get that in the mail, they'll be thrown in the trash or anything like that. So, good and bad news about some things like Michael talked to you about donations and things like that, and donations of information that you're receiving is one thing. But on the ECP program is that the program that the need is so great that federal assistance is necessary, that you need the money so badly that federal assistance is necessary. So the situation is that if somebody's donated, if you've had insurance payment, or if insurance is going to pay for it, then the government's probably not going to pay for that. Or if you've had the fence donated, then we're not going to be able to count those costs. There could be a case where the fence material was donated, but you had the labor, you'll still want to turn in the labor, or vice versa. Whenever we had the tornado down in Canadian County that went through there, a lot of the 4-H and FFA clubs went out and fixed the fence and picked up the debris and everything. The producers weren't out anything. Well, subsequently, the producers then turned around and donated some money to the FFA or 4-H chapter. Well, that donation can't count as an expense for FSA to pay you either, because it has to be directly associated with the cost of that fence and the repair of that fence. So a donation is not that. So just like I said, good news, bad news on that, but if you're getting something for free, I mean, this program is what's out of your pocket, what's out of your time, then we can reimburse it. If it's not out of pocket, not out of your time, then we can't reimburse it. So that's it on the emergency conservation program. I just want to mention a couple of other little side programs. Yes, Michael?
Could I ask you a couple of questions regarding fencing right quick? Knowing under state law there's a guideline for a lawful fence, is that the process that ECP uses to, in other words, if a replacement needs to happen, it's to replace a lawful fence, or does it replace the fence that was there in case it goes beyond a lawful fence? Does that question make any sense?
Okay, Michael's question is that there's a law that talks about replacing a lawful fence?
Right.
Right. Never had that question asked before, but I mean, we're mainly just repairing the fence that was there. Okay.
Up to what it was.
Up to what it was. If like I said, we went down the road a while ago, and you'd have the 5 steel posts, and you'd have the 1 wood post, and it'd be burnt out. So we can replace that, or if the bottom wire is burnt out, or tore up, then we can do that. And then again on replacement, if it needs to be replaced, we just go by NRCS standard and specifications on replacing that fence. And I still don't know whether I'm answering your question or not.
Well, but I guess in that case is if the fence that I had out there was a 5-wire, 1 post every rod type fence, but the NRCS standard is a 4-wire. It's 5. Okay. That answers.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
But on the other hand, if it was a 3-wire fence and NRCS standard said to put it back to 4 or 5, you'd have to put it back to the standard on the replacement.
Understood.
On the restoration, again, we're just helping you prop it back up there, okay?
What about on the T-post metal? Some of mine got bent because the fire was so hot.
Well, that's fine.
So it is covered?
That's covered, right. I was just saying on some of them moved so fast. I mean, I saw some today where it kind of like scorched the post, but they were still fine and standing. And I was just saying, just because the paint burned off, that's not good enough. If it got hot enough, they bent over it, you bet. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I understood that you was going to waive the coming out and checking the need, and if that's correct, and we are to use only pictures, as far as the wire goes, how are you going to determine from a picture how brittle the wire is and the need for replacement of that wire?
Well, we're probably going to have to take honesty on a lot of this stuff.
Okay.
And I'm just saying it like it is. We haven't got the waiver of on-site visits approved yet, but it's just so large, and with the staff we got, I don't know, Terry, I don't see whether we can get through all that. So Lisa will be working day and night, and if she's checking you at night, she won't know how brittle those fences are. So, Melinda, did you have a correction?
Just wanted to mention the minimum cost. The producer has the donated fence materials, and he doesn't meet the minimum cost of the expense.
We have a minimum cost threshold of $1,000 of cost, so I think most of you would probably meet that. So there was another question right here.
Is this the time to ask questions?
Yes, just go ahead and get through on this one here on the ECP. We'll just get through it. Get that on the fence and mooring.
We're fixing to start grazing. The archaeological sites that may be affected as a result of dozing fence lines, and the need to wait in order to get an approval from the state to begin that dozing, because in a lot of these areas there's heavy cedar, and dozing is going to be necessary in order to replace the fence.
my suggestion there is to get into the office, get the application done, tell Lisa that you're going to, or Kim or Paula, that you're going to be dozing and you need a response soon. They will immediately send the letter to the State Historic Preservation Officer and hopefully get a response soon. If you are going to come in the office and you aren't going to do that activity, we can just notate that and go on down the road. That's a good question and appreciate that. But yes, that's the quickest way we can do it. I mean, and they will take 15 days probably to answer it. So that's the best answer I can give you. Is kind of, I mean, the worst thing about this program sometimes is having to rely on somebody else, and that's one of them that we're stuck with on that. If we're going to do digging or dozing.
Are there maps that we can access to determine whether or not there's a site in the vicinity that we're going to be doing?
There's not, and what I understand, they're a little bit private about that. And the reason why I think they're private about it is so they don't want everybody to know about it, so people go out there and destroy them. I don't know. That's what I've been told. Yes, sir.
Okay, well, we're on this subject, roadside fences that might go through our county commissioners. That'll be waived off of this deal on a roadside fence that needs some dirt work.
So the roadside fence will be repaired by the county commissioner, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
That would just be one that wouldn't be eligible if they're going to do the total work.
No, not the fence, just the dirt work.
Oh, they're just going to do the dozing?
Yes. We won't have to go through what you're talking about on this.
Well, anytime there's just, I don't care who's doing it, we would have to, if you're going to be pushing roots, you know, those trees out and stuff like that, even if they're county commissioners or whoever, we're still responsible for the State Historic Preservation Officer making sure it's cleared before we do that. Okay. But again, if you're not in the tree area or something like that, like the lane we saw today, and you're just kind of scraping that a little bit, you're okay. The plow line is the big, you know, caveat there.
We've had a fence crew since last week, and it's a necessary fence that between us and our neighbor, and we had to push trees. Are we not going to be eligible because we push trees out?
I'm not gonna, I put in there the possibility that you may not be eligible. So I go to the office on that segment, and we will get that archaeological deal back and see what it says. And if it comes back clean, then you're fine, you know.
We've got the materials already there.
Yeah.
Probably in the morning they're going to start putting in back a mile and a quarter, mile and a half fence. Now, we didn't know if we'd be eligible for any assistance, but we had to push trees.
Right, and that's it. I mean,
they were in our fence line.
And we can work with you as far as we can until we get held by somebody else. But like I said, I just make sure you get in there and apply, and if you dozed, you know, again, if you didn't doze anything out below the plow line, you're fine, okay?
I have a suggestion. I went and got the portable cameras, the throwaways.
The what?
The throwaway cameras.
Portable throwaway cameras. Okay.
And that's what I use to take pictures of all my fence.
She just suggested that go to the store and get some portable cameras and take pictures and develop them and bring them in.
Well, my son took pictures of our whole ranch that would affect even Darren's cows. And he will send them from Tulsa back to us so we can have them, or he'll print them.
Yeah.
But we have...
and on the cows, Bodie's going to talk about that, and it is important on the livestock field. Bodie will talk about that in a minute.
You're right. Is the application available online?
No, it is not. It would be available online if you had EOF, but I don't think many people have what we call EOF.
Okay.
It's probably good to go in. I think what Lisa had suggested is you might want to, and I suggest this to all of you probably, is that you might want to go in and see if they have some photocopies of your, well, we do have photocopies of your place, and maybe take them home and kind of make sure you know where you're at on the whole scheme of things and mark your different fences, then come back in and talk to us and check things out. Yes, sir.
Something you haven't talked about, but I just wondered, if you had CRP that was not affected by the fire, is there some way we could?
Good question.
I'm going to talk about that in just a minute.
Okay. Thank you.
Got you covered. Maybe not like what you want, but we got you covered here. Okay? All right. I put the next couple of slides in here, and I can go past them really quick, but I don't know about this group or not, but you know, planting vineyards and wine and stuff like that has gone rampant in Oklahoma, it seems like. And I'm just going to tell you that if you have a winery or orchards or something like that used for commercial production that was involved in this, I don't know, I didn't talk to Jake about this up front, but if you're in that area, we can help with that also, okay? We'll help you if you had over an 18% death loss of trees in that orchard or vineyard or whatever, then we can assist you in replacing and replanting those, okay? So, emergency use of CRP. Here's the answer to your question, sir, okay? There's only one correction to this that I have to, based upon what I know today. We did get emergency use of CRP, Conservation Reserve Program, approved just a while ago. I will compliment Mr. Peach and the administration. We sent that up yesterday. We got a response just a while ago today. That never happens, okay? So anyway, what this does is it's saying that you had cattle out there and you have no place to go with them. And maybe you or a neighbor has some CRP that was unimpacted, and you need to kind of store, and we're looking at it as storing those cattle over there for a while until you get things fixed to where you can get it back over on your place, all right? So if you, so we have been approved for emergency use of CRP up until April 14th. This is April the 30th, but they said April 14th. I could maybe get Terry to have him twist their arm again and get it up to April 30th. And why we stop April 30th is that we have the nesting season we have to talk about, and we can't go past May 1 on anything. So that will give somebody a repository for the livestock. And if you're going to do that, just don't go out there and do it. Go in and the CRP participant needs to go in and write Lisa or Kim or Paula a note saying, you know, I want to utilize a CRP for emergency use. So-and-so is going to use it. And they'll give you a letter and say, okay, that's fine. You can do it until April 14th, and then you got to have them off and remind you of your responsibility. So that is available out there now. Yes, sir.
What about emergency use after the nesting period?
We'll get into that. We have our normal, emergency grazing or hay, as we call it, is triggered by the drought monitor. And so we have to be in a D2 drought at that time. And our nesting season goes through June 30th, July 1st. So on July the 2nd, if the drought monitor says we're in a D2, we can, county committee can announce that we have emergency haying or grazing available on CRP. Other than that, you would have just our normal grazing and haying available that's on that 1 and 3 year rotation. If you're in prairie chicken country, it might be in a certain area of the prairie chicken area, it might be a 1 and 2, well, it is a 1 and 3 year. Actually, they changed the grazing to a 1 and 2 year rotation in the /farm bill, and that just came out. So there's 2 options there, just depend upon, and on that, emergency, it doesn't cost you anything. The non-emergency costs you 25% of what you do. On the emergency use, back to that, there's no cost for that also.
Right.
All right.
Go ahead.
What about the water situation?
Which?
Well, there's some in pastures that haven't been impacted, but the silt and everything like that's flowed into them ponds.
with that. He's talking about ash running into the water.
Yeah, I don't,
Yeah, I would refer that question to the Natural Resources Conservation Service with their expertise on that. We do understand that black ash. We got to get a rain first. I'll take the rain. If we get the rain, then I'll worry about the water a lot more. I think we'd all wish for that. But yes, there are some things we can't control or stop. To answer your question, we don't have it. We don't have an answer on that, to be rightfully honest with you.
okay. Any other questions? If not, Bodie?
Okay, guys, this handout that says Livestock Disaster Assistance Programs for Fire, I'm going to talk to you about a couple of programs that we have out there and available. The first program I'm going to talk to you about is the LIT program, Livestock Indemnity Program. This is for cattle deaths as a direct result of the fire. Cattle that got burnt and died, cattle that may still be alive today but are going to die as a result of the fire. Those cattle are eligible to be, we can reimburse you for those cattle for 75% of what we believe to be the average market value of that cattle. If you look down to on your paper under the benefit paid, that is the payment rates that are currently for this program. There is a $125,000 payment limitation, but that payment limitation encompasses not only the LIT program, but the LFP program and the ELAT program. So basically, if you had 81 or 82 cows, I figured would get you $125,000, and you were paid $125,000 on your cow losses, and then we come into a drought later in the year, and you go apply for LFP, you're already going to hit the payment limitation. You're not going to be eligible to participate in that program. Proof of death. Once again, we go back to taking pictures. If you guys dig a hole and you bury a bunch of cattle, if you have somebody help you, have them write you a receipt. Hey, I buried 40 cows today. You know, take your pictures, bring that in. The worst thing for a county office is if we pay you guys something, we're out here trying to help you, and then we come in later and for whatever reason a court comes and there's not enough information to back up our payments. We don't want to come get money back. So help us to be sure and document these losses so that we can make sure to get the right amount of money in your hands. The program pays above normal mortality. So if you got 100 cows, and adult normal mortality is 1.5%, and you lost 5, we're going to pay you on 3.5 of them. Okay? That normal mortality is always going to be taken off the top. Now, if later in the year you have a cow die and you can prove that that cow died, you can bring that back into the office. You've got a calendar year to bring that back into the office and prove the death of a cow due to she died calving, she got sick, she died, she broke her leg, she died, whatever. Bring that in and it'll trigger another payment on that one that we didn't pay you for due to the fire. See what I'm saying? And when we're looking at this program, we're looking at all your cows. Every cow you own in every county you have land in. Not just the cows that you had in this pasture. When we start with the beginning inventory, I'm not talking about the prize place over here. I'm talking about every cow you own. We want them all in your beginning inventory. If you participated in LFP last year, we probably have your 15 numbers already on file in the office. So to keep you from having to chase those down, if those numbers haven't changed a whole lot, we could probably go right off there. Cattle had to be owned prior to the disaster, of course. You need to report your losses within 30 days of when the losses become apparent. Go ahead.
If you have cattle here in Woods County, and we have pasture in Kansas, what does that you know, we had to take
You
the
need
cattle
to
from.
apply for this program in the in your administrative county. So,
We have two.
no, you'll only have one. Whoever does your eligibility, whichever FSA office does your eligibility, like takes care of your operating plan, your 941, be like your home county office, you'll only have one. You probably just need to call up there and say, you know, is this, you know, Lisa, do you know if that's, if
Woods County.
it's what?
Woods County.
So Woods County is where you want to apply. The good thing about this program, I know you guys lost cattle and there's not really a good thing about it, but this is a quick program. There's a quick turnaround on this. We should be able to get the money out the door within 30 days on a deal like this, as long as we can get cooperation from, you know, get all the information in there and everything. So the money is always there with this program. Have any other questions on this program? Okay. The next program I'm going to talk to you about is called the ELAP program. And this program is a little tougher. There's 20...
What's that acronym stand for?
Emergency Livestock Assistance Program. There's $20 million in D.C. or wherever. And that money doesn't get spent until the end of the year when they gather up all the ELAP applications throughout the United States of America, and they total up how many dollars is there. If it's over 20 million, they use a proration rate, and it goes out. If it's under, it'll pay it above 60%, which is the payment rate for ELAP. ELAP can pay for burnt hay if you had hay that was hay piles that were in the pasture. It's a tougher program to administer because there are some acreage reporting, I like to call them landmines, but most of us here, we report all our crops or all our grasses as grazing. One of the caveats to the LFP or the ELAP program is if that hay burned up, for it to be eligible and you produced it, you have to have FG on an acreage report somewhere. Okay. Receipts, you know, if it's purchased hay that burnt, we're going to need where you purchased the hay, how many bales was there. Once again, you can take pictures of the ash lines, any kind of evidence that you can get like that. You got a receipt from the guy you bought it from. Feed losses or additional feed purchases above what you would normally feed. There's a chance that we can pay on some of that kind of stuff. Just keep track of it. And, you know, we may ask you to, for instance, bring in receipts of what you've fed in years past, trying to establish continuity to what you're feeding this year past what it was. As far as grazing losses, and you know, there's a maximum of 180 days grazing value that we can pay on. But we haven't even got to the grazing period for warm season grasses and improved grasses in Oklahoma. So we're still waiting. So even though, you know, the fire was last week, the grazing season doesn't start until April 15th for native grass and warm season grasses. So the start date from that will be on. How many days will we lose? I don't really know. It's going to rain. I don't know that either.
So FSA will be determining that?
The days lost? Not really. I mean, we kind of do. It'll need to look right throughout the county, but once, just because you turn cattle out and you start grazing, you know, in 60 days, doesn't mean somebody else can. You know, I mean, it's different situations in different parts, so we'll have to look at that. This program's tough. I've had trouble with it in the past.
We're really hoping it rains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Help you guys
Does
with?
this go for hay? What if you're buying a lot of cake?
No, it goes for cake too. Additional feed purchases past what you'd normally be feeding. So, you know, normally you feed 5 pounds or whatever, and then anything on top of that that you're feeding because of the fire, because of the loss of grass, you need to keep track of that kind of stuff. Anybody else? Jake, what do you got next?
Taylor, were you wanting to share some words? Krista? Looks like we're going to do it by committee, maybe. So, coming down the side here is Krista Estes and Taylor Dunn. Krista is your farm loan manager in Garfield County out of Enid. Taylor's out of Woodward. They both do a really good job. I'll hand the microphone off to them, and they will kind of let you know what FSA on the loan side may be able to do, or can do, or will do.
I'm Krista Estes from Garfield County, and this is Taylor Dunn. The reason we're both here is because we both trying to service this county. I have any new borrowers since 2012, I believe, in Garfield County, and Taylor has any of the recent ones that are still active. So if you're going to be a new borrower, you would come to me. If you're old, you still go to Taylor. So that's why we're both kind of here. I did not mean all. So, as I said, we're here for emergency, but right now we wouldn't have any emergency loans available because we have been considered a disaster. So really, we're going to kind of switch gears and talk about operating loans. We have what we call an operating loan that could be to purchase your livestock to cover any that may have died. And they talked about it being in that program where they can get cost shared. You can kind of look at maybe doing both if you wanted, and kind of getting extra payments to buy new cows. But the operating loan, what it is we could do a livestock program of $300,000 is our max. It's a 7-year note. It will be the difference in our programs compared to their programs. Ours has to be paid back. Right now, the interest rate would be at 2.5%, I believe is what April's rate is. Yes, 2.5%. So, that could go towards your, and it also could go towards your fencing if you needed it. Now, it's not near as fast as their programs are. Ours are a lot longer. It takes a little bit longer to apply. What else?
I would say on one note, if, like Mr. Peach was talking about, if they do go ahead later and get this area declared a disaster and make it where you do have potential to turn in an application for an emergency loan, it is very helpful for some of you possibly that may have run out of your FSA lending eligibility timeframes. FSA is not able to loan money to everybody all the time. There is a limit on there that some people may have exceeded if you have closed more than 7 operating loans in more than 7 different years. So with the emergency loan, you don't have that. So if you are a person that could not normally walk into an FSA office and potentially apply, you may be able to if they do get a disaster declared. Also, the limit is $500,000. And it's probably something that you're going to want to assess whether you even want one after you have worked with your local FSA office as far as getting through the LIT program and all of those things, because it is going to take into consideration what you have been paid on any losses that you've incurred, and then we're going to look at that and try to loan into the rest of your loss if there is such a thing. But like Krista said, the typical or the normal operating loan program is a great program. Interest rate's great on it. The term's a little bit longer than a bank does. And if you work with your commercial lender, who's obviously going to be the fastest person to help you get through what you need to do today, sometimes we can kind of help on the backside of that just to stretch out payments and stuff and make it go a little bit better. So. Yeah. The emergency loan interest rate is a little bit higher than our regular rate for April of 2.5%. The emergency interest rate is 3.625. It's a little bit higher. The term is still, if we were going to make you an emergency loan to, for example, buy cows, just to throw out an idea, it's still a 7-year term, and it's going to be based on whatever, that sheet that they have out there where they were given values of the cows and stuff. They're going to value that cow kind of the same way. 75% of what FSA assesses the market value to be at that time. It's still going to be a 7-year loan. You're still gonna have to figure out how to secure it. Again, that's where your commercial lender is probably gonna be your best friend in working with you and FSA to try to help you figure out what's the best way to jive, because some people may already be in a position where your cow loan is at the bank, and you know, the bank may need to be paid back too. Maybe this emergency loan can help kick in and make you whole at the bank. So anyway, it's a great program if they get it declared a disaster. But in the meantime, the regular operating loan might be just as helpful, because you can just kind of pick up and go as of today, whereas you may not have to wait for that disaster to be declared. So
that, or what we call our micro loan, it's a smaller version of our operating loans, but it's less. It's 25,000. No, it's not 50,000. Anything that you're requesting, anything less than 50,000. Just a little less paperwork on y'all's end, not on ours. But that just might be something else. But I will also throw out there too, if this is something you're interested in and you want to talk to someone, or you want an application, or you want some help filling it out, Alan Poe actually is the one who helps fill out here at this VOTEC, and you can call him, and he knows everything about our programs, and if he doesn't, he just calls us. But if you have any questions and would rather call him and talk to him, you can do that. Anything else?
I can't think of anything.
You guys have any questions? Any further questions for them? All right, thank you, ladies. Stacy Riley would like to spend just a couple of minutes with you. She's with the Natural Resources Conservation Service. While she's coming down the stairs, I'd like to take a quick opportunity to thank our local banks and lenders. Randy DeWalt, Cody McMurphy, their Farm Credit donated some water. They're very prompt in helping us out. Alva State Bank, you know, with Todd Holder, took the bull by the horn, and the banks, High Plains, Community Bank, Central Bank, they paid for that article, the color page. They all stepped up, did it. They also paid for a radio spot. We're very fortunate to be where we're at with quality lenders like that. Thanks to all of you representatives that are in the crowd from those institutions. Stacy, I'll turn it over.
Thank you. I am Stacy Riley, and I supervise as part of the state. Shelley Oliphant is your local district conservationist, and I'd like to extend her regrets for not being able to be here today. She already had a prior commitment, so she called in panic and asked if I could come just in case Diane Neiswanger couldn't answer any questions. She's also at the local office. But I just wanted to touch on a couple of things that can happen right now. If you have an active contract with the NRCS office here in Alva, and you have some practice that's been affected, you need to visit with Diana or Shelley to see what options you have. Because we do have, all of our practices have a lifespan. Even if you built a watering facility 5 years ago, it is still under a lifespan guarantee. And our national office has been monitoring this, and they've already set up some initial plans to give us additional funding to help cost share those practices. So if ECP can't kick in, our stuff will be able to kick in. And I would highly recommend, if you have an active contract or even a contract that's old and you think it might be effective, to get a hold of the local office, because if we cost shared on it once, we're supposed to cost share on it again to replace it, to help you maintain it for its lifespan. With that being said, we also have some other options that might be available for helping do recovery on the burned out ground. Shelley was out earlier this week, and Diana, and they're a little bit concerned that maybe some of the fire was so hot that it burned the crowns out. If it burned the crowns out, the grass isn't going to come back. So we may have to have some opportunities to replant some of your native ranges and or some of the native or improved pasture. And with that being said, once again, our national office has already ponied up some money, set it aside, whatever you want to say, for us to be able to do some grass plantings and some native grass plantings. We may have to wait and make a determination because we already are into grass planting season right now, so we might not be able to do it right now. We might have to do some emergency cover situations, but there will be some things that we might can do to help us if we don't get rain that seems to never want to come out in northwest Oklahoma when we need it. So there's some options there. Your question about the pond, were you talking about CRP pond water, or were you talking about just in general pond water?
Just in general pond water.
That's something that we could possibly consider. We never do pond clean outs as a general practice as a cost share item, but if we can find an alternative site location, we could maybe assist with building a new pond.
Well, what I was talking about is people had to move their cattle because of the water.
So you're talking about a temporary water situation?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't really have anything with the temporary water situation that we could offer through our programs, and I'm not sure about ECP anymore.
Not under this type, it's only
Yeah.
under drought.
On a land or drought, that's what I prefer to use. So we have some things that we can do, especially if you have an existing contract, because we know for a fact there's several of you, and I don't know who you are because, you know, it's the first time I've stood in front of you people, but if you have an existing contract in our office, come see Diana or Shelley and ask them about it, because there may be some situations that you might have had a prescribed bird set up on your farm. Well, obviously now we aren't going to be able to do a prescribed bird, so we'll need to look at what else we can do, if anything. Especially if it was lesser prairie chicken associated, because just because it went through, we may have to do woody residue removal because of the chicken to make sure that the skeletons are gone as well. So there are some very specific things that can happen. Also, if you have had a loss with your cattle and you need to know the location for disposal, we can help recommend what soils to avoid. Because there are certain ones that you probably, especially if you drink your own well water, that you might not want those cows buried in. So that's another thing that we can offer out of our office. And now I'd be happy to entertain any questions about NRCS. Yeah.
What are your guidelines for determining the restoration of burned out crowns?
We'll have to do a field verification and look at the sites to see what we can see out there, and then it's gonna be on a site-by-site determination. We'll just have to put our eyes on it and see. We may have to do some transects, and we may actually just have to wait to see what Mother Nature allows to happen.
So what's the time frame to have that done?
The time frame to have the site evaluation?
Right.
It's not even growing season yet, so we're gonna have to wait
But
until we.
once growing season begins, what's the time frame in order to have that?
Just go ahead and come in the office and make an appointment, and then whenever we can get out there, we'll get out there. You can go ahead and make an application for cost share if it's something that looks like it's a potential, and then that way it'll be on file, so we'll have it.
What program will you use for that?
It'll be through EQIP, the Environmental Quality Incentive Program. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. Okay, we're getting real close to coming to the end here. I want to take a short opportunity to brag on our firemen, especially these volunteers. I know a lot of you that are here at work. You guys can stand up. The volunteers, Jesse Chapman, I know you are. I don't know if I'll get him to stand up, but they were. You guys did a tremendous job. All of them, Cody McMurphy, Jesse Chapman. I know there's more of them out there, but they're shy. But our county commissioners did an excellent job on this. Two of them are here that I know of, but all three of them were extraordinary in getting it done. I know I was on the phone a time or two with Randy McMurphy. I think that was where his barn was served as central command at that time. But our volunteer fire departments, the way they stepped up, the way they handled it, they've been heavily taxed, not only physically but monetarily, and with their rigs. Any chance you get to help them out, we need to do it. We've asked Kirk Treacle, the Alva fire chief, to share a few words with us, so I'm going to introduce Kirk and let him visit with you a little bit. Thank you, guys.
I'll just speak loudly and won't need the microphone, but Jake touched on something that I wanted to point out. You know, from early on, all the way through, our county road crews were on this, and they don't always get the recognition that they deserve. It seems like a lot of times people think of the firemen as the heroes, and I kind of think the other way. And I know Commissioner Hamill and Commissioner Murphy are here. I don't believe Commissioner Smiley is, but I would like you all to show your appreciation to them with a round of applause, and maybe they can pass that on to their employees, and hopefully they can be aware of how valuable they are in these situations. I think one thing that comes to my mind and that I think about this type of a fire and how uncontrollable it was. You know, there was a weather phenomenon there, but a lot of it is fuel load, and I know a lot of you have been active in prescribed burning, doing everything you can to control the eastern red cedar. I think from a fire department standpoint, I know different fire departments view that differently. I have enough of an agricultural background to understand the importance of that, and I think one way to look at this, you know, if there is any good to come from it, we have somewhat of a clean slate to work with. I know there's a lot of areas that didn't get completely cleaned up, but I just think of situations in the past where maybe one landowner might be working to plan a control burn, and he might have a neighbor that says, you know, if that gets on me, I'm going to sue you, or whatever. And I know of some instances like that in the past, and I would just implore you to, over the next 5, 10, 15 years, work with your neighbors, be a part of your county burn association, support them. We need to make it a lifelong goal and effort to keep that fuel load from those eastern red cedars reduced. I know there's some talk about La Nina and El Nina cycles and grass growth and that type of thing, but grass is so much more manageable when it's burning than those eastern red cedars. I mean, I think there's a number of people in this room that witnessed, you know, there's times we'd get a half or 3/4 of a mile ahead of the fire and think we were at a place where we were going to maybe make a stand on it. I know right east of Hodgson's place, we found a place that looked good, and we thought maybe we were going to be able to make a stand on it there. And as the fire approached from the south, 3/4 of a mile or half a mile wide place where we was at, where there weren't any cedars and there was fairly short grass, it wasn't enough. The fire would be 3/4 to a mile south of us, and embers falling out of the sky on the other side of us, north of us, setting fire. So, and that was coming from those cedars. So, I would just implore you to, if you have a negative outlook on that, reconsider that. Work with your neighbors, work with the burn association, support them, and not only does it decrease the fuel load, but it increases your grazing capacity. So that's really all I have to say.
Thank you, Kurt. Okay, now it's time for sign up. Lisa said she does not want to see any of you tomorrow. Please be very patient with us. In the county office, they're going to work their tails off. You know they will. They always have. We need, this thing's going to be large enough in scope. We're dealing with so many acres and so many producers and landlords. There's still lots of questions I know you guys have that you didn't ask because of the audience. So give us a little time. We need that you guys to start calling in Monday. We'll schedule an appointment and we'll get you in and we'll get the process started. But in the meantime, do not forget to document your losses. Get a plan. You can still be actively looking for a fence builder and whatever you need. Thank all of you guys for coming. If you have any more questions, now's the time to do it, and I've got one from over here. Yes, thank you. Yes, if you would, let's just leave the surveys that we passed out asking about your losses, approximate cattle numbers, fence lines, miles of it. We're not going to hold you to that number. This is more in an effort to understand how big a scale, how big is this thing? How many cattle are we looking to paying on? How many miles of fence do we need to be doing? That questionnaire will help us to continue to solicit Washington for more funding. So if you would, please fill those out and leave these at the here on the smoke counter. Chris Poseidon, yes sir. Some extra help. I went back to saying there's some Northwest Oklahoma guys, and Mr. Peach and Jeff Alexander are already working on that. There's some trainees throughout the state. Kind of got a verbal from Mr. Peach, maybe. They're going to try to circle them through. Trust me, they know what she's going to be dealing with. You'll see more of Jeff. Though we will never have enough employees there, but they will do everything that we can. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Mike mentioned the governor had declared a disaster. What do you know anything about that declaration and what's going to be what's going to be available through that or as a result of that declaration?
It's my understanding that helps in the process of the federal declaration. So
I believe so. I know Mr. Peach and Rob Wonger deal with that on a much larger scale than me. But essentially, Governor Fallon has said, yes, we got a state of emergency in Northwest Woods County. What that means monetarily to our programs is kind of like he's saying it gets the ball started. When Krista Estes and Taylor were talking about the loans available, they kept saying that it hadn't been declared a disaster. That doesn't mean they don't think it's a disaster. That just means that there has not been a presidential disaster declared on this particular event to kick in the emergency loan funding at that level. We've discussed this. It sounds like usually to get a presidential disaster declaration, that's typically more of a municipality. Tornadoes going through more, Tulsa, something of that nature, large-scale flooding and affecting people instead of cows. So, I shouldn't say it like that, just more of a city deal. Any other questions? Let's see what over here. Yeah, Ron?
What's the governor of Oklahoma going to do for
I cannot answer on behalf of the governor. I'm sorry. So, any others? Greg's wanting to take the mic from him, and I'm willing to give it to him.
I just forgot to mention one handout over here that is fairly important. It's on cattle health and getting with your veterinarian. All the cattle that have sucked in all this smoke, and we're going to have hooves falling off, and we're going to have health issues. I know you guys are dealing with it, but it can last a lot longer than you might be thinking. So be mindful and watchful of those symptoms 2 and 3 and 4 weeks out. So again, that handout is over here. I'm going to leave the sign up for hay on front. Please come sign up if you need hay.
Real quick, Cody McMurphy told me earlier that Jimmy Allen had told him that Zoetis Animal Health is willing to donate medicine to you that are affected. It's Jimmy's the one that told us about it, but it can be through any dealer that you know, whether it's a vet, whether it's Vet Supply, or Jimmy asked him about it. If it's a Zoetis product for some of those sick cattle that have inhalation problems, whatnot, they may be able to provide you some free, antibiotics, vaccines, steroids, whatever it might be.
Where they need to go to find out.
Go to the local vet supply.
Okay, you guys hear that? Just go to your local vet supply dealer to have more information on that. So, any other questions? It did. It did. You're exactly right. I don't know what to do on that road. Okay, guys, looks like we're wrapping it up. Again, please be patient with the office. Start your phone calls, schedule appointments Monday. Take your questionnaires here. Thank you very much. And thank all of you guys.